pasó?
Destellos en el cielo. Son llamadas luces de terremoto y se pudieron observar en el cielo de la Ciudad de México la noche de este martes 7 de septiembre, durante el sismo de magnitud 7.1.
Sismo de magnitud 6 ocurrido el día de ayer no solo produjo temor en los ciudadanos de Lima. Más de uno pudo observar unos extraños destellos en el cielo. No es la primera vez que observamos este extraño fenómeno. En el terremoto del año 2007, que afectó principalmente Pisco e Ica, se produjo la aparición de destellos en el firmamento limeño.
En la nota anterior, pero mire usted un caso bastante extraño, y es que un misterioso resplandor azul fue visto en el cielo marroquí poco antes del terremoto del pasado sábado. Este es un fenómeno que también fue registrado en eventos similares en Turquía, según se dio a conocer.
This will show, again, some of the very same stuff that's happening here. And what happened, NASA has actually released this, showing that these peculiar releases of energy taking place. May of 1994, a major United States scientific magazine described large numbers of rare, strange blue flashes in the atmosphere, the same as the loud sonic booms that took place in June 18th of 1994, there was a deep quake in the earth. And this is, in fact, the HAARP, High Altitude Aurora Research Program. That's what it's labeled. This is the heart of the control, the electronic control of weather and the creation of earthquakes. Now, as you can see here, this is the very location in Alaska of the bulk of the transmission equipment. Now this is where we get back again, once again, as I can show you here, the actual patents on this equipment to alter the ionosphere and then cause control and heating and control of weather.
Thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HAARP in the past. We took over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HAARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere, be able to actually control it. And but that work has been completed. What the HAARP was really designed to do was to inject energy into the ionosphere, be able to actually control it.
Which the HAARP was really designed to do was to inject energy into the ionosphere, be able to actually control it.
We will learn to put the finger on the trigger that releases climatic change, that changes the patterns of storms. And this is one of the things that many groups here at our laboratory and elsewhere are interested to get to the bottom of. For example, it's fascinating to speculate that man might be able to steer a hurricane by perhaps cloud seeding in a particular location, or by changing the evaporation of water from the ocean.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
James Fleming is professor and director of the Science, Technology, and Society Department at Colby College and the author of Fixing the Sky, The Checkered History of Weather and Climate Control.
This image of a technocrat pulling the levers of weather control appeared on the cover of Collier's magazine in 1954. We were in a weather control race with the Soviet Union at the time, and an Air Force general had just announced to the press that the nation that controls the weather will control the world. The magazine article inside by President Eisenhower's weather advisor, Harold Orville, provided detailed ways of conducting weather warfare. This is Hurricane King, 1947, when Project Cirrus intervened and seeded it. They wanted to announce to the press that they could control hurricanes, but basically they canceled the press conference when it came ashore and devastated Savannah, Georgia. Other diplomatic disasters include Project Stormfury in the 1960s, where Fidel Castro accused America of cloud seeding over Cuba, and Vietnam, Operation Popeye, when the UN subsequently outlawed hostile use of weather modification.
And ultimately, to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
So let me show you how far this has gone. We put out a document in July of this year about weather modification. Now this is a September release of Popular Science. The bottom of this cover of this article talks about an exclusive, the secret agenda of the military project in Alaska. The next document here is the first page entry, Mystery in Alaska. It talks about the little-known Pentagon-sponsored radio physics program or project called HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. In this document, they talk about weather modification. Wow. This document shows the diagrams of how they do it. It also talks about, right at the bottom of this first column, it says weather manipulation made possible by holding or building ionospheric heaters could induce local weather conditions such as floods or droughts.
And ultimately, to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Weapons analyst Tom Bearden, a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe that the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years.
For example, here we are showing the general scheme by which Tesla could have tapped the molten core energy of the Earth itself. As we show on the figure, we set up a standing wave through the Earth. There's one or two ways to do that. Once we have the standing scalar wave, we have a matrix in the Earth. That is also useful or used by the Soviets as an earthquake generator weapon, for example. If we do that slowly, the nearest fault zone will give and we'll have a natural earthquake. If we do it very sharply, what will happen is we'll shatter the rock itself, whether there's a fault zone there or not, and we will get an earthquake that's deliberately induced. The earthquake in 1978 near Tabas, Iran, left an anomalous signature of fractured rock in that case, and I've already pointed out in my book, The Excalibur Briefing, why the Soviets had to generate that earthquake to stress relieve the fault zone on the border between Iran and Russia that was threatening their own city.
Ultimately, to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Thank you. I'd like to just get on to yes. Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st. You said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the Senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Cole. Senator Feinstein?
He's not.